Imagine a world where your neighbor could be a hero or a traitor. What would you do if silence meant complicity, and action meant risking your life, your family, your very soul? This isn't just a history lesson. It's a haunting question millions faced during World War II in Nazi-occupied France. Would you have joined the French resistance? Today, we're plunging into the shadows of a nation under siege, exploring the crushing weight of occupation, the daring call to rise up, the perilous double life of resistance, its profound impact, and what it demands of you today. By the end, you'll face a mirror. In that moment of truth, what would I have done? Let's begin with the darkness that engulfed France, a story not just of defeat, but of the slow, insidious creep of oppression that tested the limits of human endurance. In June 1940, the unthinkable happened. France surrendered to Nazi Germany in a mere 6 weeks. Paris, once the radiant city of light, dimmed into a city of shadows. Curfews slammed doors shut by 9 p.m. Rationing stretched a single loaf of bread across a week, if you could get it. Fear wasn't just in the air. It was the air itself, thick with the threat of Gestapo raids at dawn, and the ever-present eyes of neighbors turned informants. Propaganda posters, with their bold swastikas and promises of order, masked a reign of terror that silenced free thought. The erosion of freedom was a slow poison. At first it was small concessions, turning in radios, offering a reluctant salute, murmuring "Vive la France" in hidden corners. Quiet defiance flickered, hiding Jewish friends in attics, tuning into forbidden BBC broadcasts under blankets. For many, it was a desperate grasp at hope, clinging to whispers of Allied liberation. Take Marie, a lion baker whose Jewish customers disappeared, their shops marked with Jude signs. Silence kept her family safe, for now. But as deportations intensified, that silence turned into a shackle. Normalcy vanished. No more cafe debates, no free press, just the constant hum of betrayal. Could you hold out as the weight crushed your spirit day after day? Let's delve deeper into the everyday horrors that made occupation a living nightmare. Not just for the elite, but for the common folk who bore the brunt of it. Ration cards became lifelines, yet they offered scraps. 200 grams of bread per day, a sliver of cheese if lucky. Queues stretched for hours, women and children fainting in the cold. The black market flourished, but at a price. One wrong deal, and you could face arrest. Children grew up fast, scavenging for coal or trading cigarettes for food. The psychological toll was immense. Constant suspicion eroded trust. A knock at the door could be a friend or the milice, the French collaborators who hunted resistors with zeal. Stories like that of the Val d'Hiv roundup in 1942, where 13,000 Jews were herded into a cycling stadium, sent waves of terror through communities. For ordinary Parisians, it was a wake-up call. No one was safe. The occupation didn't just steal freedom. It stole joy, turning festivals into furtive gatherings, music into whispered songs. How long could you endure before the weight broke you, forcing a choice between submission and rebellion? Then came the spark that changed everything. The French resistance didn't emerge from grand military halls. It was born in the gritty basements and shadowy alleys of ordinary people. It started with small acts, derailing trains laden with German supplies, printing underground newspapers like Combat to spread truth, weaving networks to shelter the persecuted. But answering that call was a heart-wrenching decision. Risk everything for a cause with no guarantee of success, or stay safe in silence? Real stories reveal the extraordinary within the ordinary. Jean Moulin, a quiet civil servant, risked his life to unite disparate resistance groups into a cohesive force, becoming a symbol of hope. Then there were the Nancy sisters, Virginia and Elizabeth Hall, American women who parachuted into France, organized supply drops and led guerrilla missions, one with a prosthetic leg, defying every odd. What drove them? Often it was a single searing moment, witnessing a child torn from a mother's arms or a friend dragged to torture. The resistance grew from a mere 5,000 members in 1941 to 400,000 by D-Day, proving that ordinary souls can reshape history when pushed to the edge. But joining meant abandoning safety. Would a whispered pledge in a smoky cafe be your line in the sand? Or would you hesitate, praying someone else would step up? Let's expand on how this spark turned into a flame, drawing in people from all walks of life. Farmers in Normandy sabotaged tractors to slow German movements. Factory workers in Marseille slipped sand into machinery. Artists in Paris used their skills to forge IDs. The Maquis, rural guerrilla groups, hid in forests, striking at convoys and retreating like ghosts. Women played pivotal roles. André Peel, a lighthouse keeper, signaled Allied planes, saving over 100 airmen. Teenagers like Simone Seguin at 18 fought with guns, capturing 25 Germans. These weren't trained soldiers. They were bakers, teachers, students, driven by a moral imperative. The BBC's V for Victory broadcasts became lifelines, with coded messages coordinating drops. The call wasn't just military. It was a call to humanity, to reclaim dignity from the oppressors. But it came at a cost. Families split, identities forged, lives forever altered. In that era of uncertainty, what would ignite your own call to action? Let's explore more tales of those who heard the call, like the group of the Musée de l'Homme, intellectuals who printed early resistance pamphlets, or the combat network founded by Henri Frenay, blending military action with ideological fight. Each group added layers to the movement, from espionage to armed raids, showing how diverse voices united against a common foe. The call echoed in churches, schools, and farms, reminding us that resistance starts with a single voice saying, no. Resistance was no romantic tale. It was a life on the razor's edge. The ever-present danger of betrayal hung like a guillotine. A collaborator's whisper could land you in Gestapo cells where torture awaited, or facing a firing squad at sunrise. The moral burdens were staggering. Stealing food for resistance drops, spinning lies to protect loved ones, even taking lives for the greater good. Living a double life eroded the mind. Every glance sparked paranoia, every knock at the door a potential end, the constant dread of endangering those you loved. Lucie Aubrac, a schoolteacher turned resistance leader, smuggled her husband from prison while pregnant, forging documents with Nazi guards nearby. One mistake, and the cost was catastrophic. Children left orphaned, homes reduced to ashes. Montluc prison in Lyon held thousands, its walls echoing with the screams of broken bodies and spirits. Yet resistors like Aubrac pressed on, fueled by a vow. We fight so our children won't have to. The price was steep. Over 30,000 executed, 200,000 deported to camps. Each act of courage was a roll of the dice with death. In a world where trust was a rare luxury, could you guard your secrets? Or would fear carve out your soul? To truly grasp the perils, consider the daily grind. Resistors like Georges Longer smuggled Jewish children across borders, disguising them as vacationers, his heart pounding with every checkpoint. The Vichy government's milice hunted them relentlessly, offering bounties that turned friends into foes. Psychological strain was relentless. Sleepless nights planning ops, the guilt of endangering innocence, the isolation of secrecy. For women like Nancy Wake, known as the White Mouse, evading Gestapo meant constant movement, sleeping in barns, eating scraps. She led 7,000 maquisards but lost comrades to betrayal. The moral dilemmas were brutal. Betray a fellow resistor to save a village, or risk all. These choices tested souls, yet they chose resistance, knowing the perils could shatter them. Let's examine more perils, like the Affiché Rouge poster campaign that demonized resistors as terrorists, or the Oradour-sur-Glane massacre in 1944, where 642 villagers were killed in retaliation for resistance acts. The fear was palpable. Resistors like Violette Sabo, a British agent, endured capture and torture at Ravensbrück, her final words a testament to unbreakable spirit. The double life meant forged identities, coded messages, and constant vigilance. Families suffered too. Children like Claude Lanzmann, who hid his Jewish heritage while his father drilled escape plans. The perils weren't just physical, they were emotional, chipping away at sanity. Yet in this crucible, heroes were forged, showing that peril, though daunting, can reveal our deepest strength. The resistance's impact reverberated far beyond France's borders. They crippled Nazi supply lines, provided critical intelligence for D-Day, pinpointing V-1 rocket sites, and facilitated Allied airdrops, saving countless lives. Their sabotage delayed German reinforcements by critical weeks, tipping the scales toward victory. The lasting inspiration? Lessons from their bravery. Courage isn't the absence of fear, but the choice to act through it. Post-war, survivors like Simone Weil rose to lead, shaping Europe's human rights framework. The lasting legacy includes memorials like the Pantheon, honoring Moulin, and films like Army of Shadows capturing the struggle. Today, their spirit lives in Paris street art honoring unknown heroes and global struggles against oppression. They prove that even in the deepest darkness, a single spark can light the way. Beyond immediate effects, the resistance influenced post-war politics, helping de Gaulle form the Free French Forces and inspiring anti-colonial movements in Algeria and Vietnam. Their networks laid groundwork for the United Nations human rights declarations. In modern times, echoes appear in civil rights movements, like Martin Luther King's nonviolent resistance or digital activism against authoritarianism. The lesson endures. Collective action, even from the shadows, can topple tyrants. Let's explore further impacts, like how the resistance's intelligence saved the Eiffel Tower from demolition orders, or how their efforts contributed to the Nuremberg trials by documenting Nazi atrocities. Survivors like Stefan Hessel wrote, "Indignez-vous, time for outrage," inspiring the 2011 Occupy movements. The legacy is a call to vigilance, reminding us that freedom is fragile and must be defended. In education, schools teach resistance stories to foster civic duty. The impact is timeless. One act of defiance can ripple through history. Now the question shifts to you. What would be your breaking point? In a world where freedom erodes through surveillance, division, or injustice, where would your resistance begin? Would you speak out against a toxic workplace? Shelter a friend in danger? Rally for a cause that threatens your peace? The French resistance teaches that heroism isn't superhuman, it's deeply human. It's choosing integrity over comfort, even when the stakes are sky high. In our time, resistance might mean voting, lending a hand, or breaking silence. What would ignite your stand? Share in the comments. Would you have joined? To deepen this, consider personal values. What principles would you defend? Family, justice, freedom? In today's polarized world, resistance could mean standing against misinformation or supporting marginalized groups. The resistance's story urges self-examination. Are we passive observers or active participants? Let's reflect on hypothetical scenarios. If your community faced censorship, would you distribute banned books? If a law targeted minorities, would you hide them? These questions echo the resistance's dilemmas, reminding us that history's lessons are for today. The French resistance wasn't about flawless heroes, it was about relentless perseverance. Ordinary men and women, facing insurmountable odds, chose to rise. Their journey challenges us. In our era, what will we choose? If this stirred your thoughts, like, subscribe, and tap the bell for more untold stories. Drop your answer below, hero or silent. See you next time, stay courageous. As we wrap up, remember, history isn't distant. It's a mirror. The resistance's legacy is a call to vigilance, reminding us that freedom is fragile and must be defended. Thank you for watching. Your reflections in the comments make this community stronger.